Man, the Devils have absolutely nothing to be ashamed about this season. As a fan watching it, I mean, no one would have thought that we would have even made it to the playoffs, right? Forget about the coming down from down 2-0 against the Rangers. Forget about making it to the second round. We weren't even considered to make the fucking playoffs. And so I think we had the largest. What was it? We tied for the largest point differential in NHL history, the largest turnaround, 49 points from one season, and then now to the next. I can't at least personally say enough how awesome it was, how fun it was, how exciting it was to watch the Devils this year. I think watching too, like the growth and just seeing how these players develop. I mean, you got Jack Hughes, 99-point season. A lot of people did not expect that from him. I mean, I think a lot of people were calling him a bust at one point. Devils fans knew how good he is and how good he was going to be. Especially you watch it and you really watch how he plays. Really elevated his game to a point where he really just takes control of the whole ice or of the game when he takes the ice. You see that and you just can't help but think, like, where's this guy going to be in a year and a half or 2 seasons from now, 3 seasons, 5 seasons, when he's got now just experience over the time of being in the playoffs. To see him get so much better was been awesome to watch. Nico Hischier, I think him being a captain over the years, I think he's become such a better captain. And early on when he was captain, he definitely was more of the follow his lead, watch what he does, instead of, he doesn't really say that much or really is a rah guy. But I think now he's become more confident. Not that he's become this he's not barking off orders or whatever to his team, but he's able to have more confidence in what he says and what he does. And it's really cool to watch him just become a better captain leader. I think that he's become such a good captain for especially this group of guys that he's been with for these past couple seasons. And you look at also like Dawson Mercer. To me, Dawson Mercer, he's a guy who took his game to a level where he's become now one of the top scorers or top threats for the Devils, at least. I don't know stats wise if he's in the top scorer, but I think that the way he went on that run a little bit where he was just getting goal after goal, it was awesome. At least points, I think. But he got so much better this season. I'm so excited to see where he kind of goes. He's really improved his game, and I think that that's something you need from guys like him, where you can't just, like, Jack Hughes is not always going to have the best game every single game this season, and we saw that this year in a sense of he's not going to score every game. He's going to be a factor on the ice, but he's not going to score every game, even in the playoffs. Like he didn't get a goal every single game or whatever, but he still had an impact in each game. That's where the guys like Mercer, come in and they're able to, and Bratt come in and at least have some kind of impact, and put some goals in the net there. So I'm excited to see where Dawson ends up. I'm so glad we didn't lose him in the Meyer deal. He's a guy that I think that rumors were there that he was being asked by the Sharks that they wanted him, and I'm glad that Fitzy said no. Right, it's so great that we kept him, and I can't wait to see what he becomes. I honestly feel like he is going to become a huge part of our core in the coming years. And I hope he stays long term for the Devils, right? I think he's a guy that we cannot let go. There's Jack Hughes, of course, right? You got him, and you got Luke Hughes coming up, and you got, of course, he's sharing the captain. But like Dawson Mercer's a guy that he really willed his way into becoming a huge part of this team. So that's really great to see. Another person I really liked to have, I'm glad that his game really stepped up, in my opinion, was Miles Wood. Right, I mean, he was out for an injury for a while. I think, especially at the end of last year, I don't think he really played that much towards the end of the season. And to see him come back, and I think that he showed just like how good he can be for this team. That's what I can describe as, I feel like he sharpened up his game. He was always fast, right? He always came out like he was a bat out of hell. Like if you watch him, he has that like get off speed, right? Like from a dead stop to a go, face off win, or if one zone to the other, he can just go, and his acceleration is great. His acceleration is really good. But sometimes early on in his career, like it would almost be like he goes quick, but without real intention or purpose. Like there's sometimes he'll go rush the puck or whatever, and he'll go to the boards, but he actually doesn't end up with a puck in the end. He just kind of goes there and crashes in with the body of the other guy in the boards, and they have a little battle, but he doesn't end up with the puck, you know. And then now he's all the way at the other, you know, at the opponent's end, and the puck's going the other way, and you know, so he has to kind of rush back. Now he's still fast. He's still, you know, he throws his body around, and he plays with emotion, which I personally like that. I like having at least a couple guys on our team that play with emotion, even though sometimes it kind of costs us some penalties. I like at least a team to have at least some guys that, you know, have that emotion in them when they play. At least, I mean, like, you know, every guy should have emotion, but just I'm talking about like a guy who really will like lay his body there, sometimes at the risk of getting penalties, but he brings that level of like emotion to the team where it can really change the momentum there. But I think, yeah, he uses his speed, his hustle, he drives to the net hard, and I think he's gotten a little bit of an underrated scoring ability, right? I don't think people really know how good he can be when he's really got that hot hand, and he just has ways of like keeping his game simple, but at the same time like fighting his way to the, you know, to the center of the net, and finding his way into spots where he can really be in a good position to score. I really like what he's done. I hope he could be a guy that, unfortunately, I don't know if he's a guy that will stick around long term. I hope he does, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy that, you know, let's say we need to deal some guys for a big name or whatever. Who knows? Like, right, Miles Wood could be on that list because he still has a lot of value. I think he's good enough. He's really good, but he still is good enough that he can be of value to teams, so he can get a good return or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, as far as just looking back on this season, I really like this game. Another one, Luke Hughes. Right, this guy comes into the playoffs against the Hurricanes. People could argue, you know, he had some giveaways or whatever, you know, and that's going to happen, right? I think that's going to happen, but I do think that just my mind, the positive of him in his play was far, in my opinion, far outweigh the negative. I just, his skating ability, you see the potential in there already. You see the vision of him, of the Hughes brothers in general, right? I mean, whether it's Jack, Luke, or Quinn on the Canucks, but like, you just see how they see the game, and it's awesome. Like it's incredible. They see shit that no one sees, or the way that they're skating, and they have confidence in their legs. You know, they have confidence in their ability to, you know, maneuver past people, and he's not afraid to skate. There was a goal when they beat the Hurricanes 8-4 in that game, the playoffs. There was a goal where he assisted it to Severson, but like he was just like skating, spinning on his knees, canning the puck on his knees or whatever. If we're going back to, you know, comps of like years past, what comes into mind, and this is heavy, I'm definitely not putting him in the same league yet. Look at Scott Niedermayer, right? Scott Niedermayer was the best the Devils skater, best defensive skater that I think the Devils have ever had, right? The way you could start from one end and take it to the other. You know, never forget that goal against the Stars when he scored against Eddie Belfour, shorthanded, I think it was. But a defenseman who can skate as well as he does, and maneuver the puck as well as he does, and control it as good as he does. And then you add on top of that the vision of, you know, the Hughes brothers, where he can see passes and you see plays develop, which I know he'll get better at as he has more experience. It's such a great future for that Devils defense there. And you got Nemec coming up too. You got a lot of really good prospects on the defensive end that I'm really excited about, at least. So it's going to be fun to watch. I just like how Lindy put him in the playoffs, and we got to see him play. We got to see him be in, you know, get a playoff experience. So I thought that was really good. You know, you got Ryan Graves too. I feel like Devils fans are a little mixed on him. They don't think he always makes the best plays or whatever. I think he improved his game. I like how, you know, he's gotten better. There was like a couple plays in the regular season, towards the end of the regular season, where he made some game-saving defensive plays, especially against the Rangers in the regular season. The final Rangers game, I think he stopped that. I think he stopped that one puck from going in. But he has good defensive awareness. I like his defensive awareness, just in terms of, and again, I know there's Devils fans who may completely disagree with that, but I like the way that you could tell he's starting to really learn the game more. I think when I saw him first come in, it seemed like he played where he just wanted to do the right play. Like, that's all I want to do. The correct play. Don't do too much. Don't do too little. Don't try to like do more than what you need to. Just get there, get that puck, shoot it on net, or dump it around the boards, or pass it to whoever. But now you could start to see that he's like getting more comfortable with, you know, creating plays and creating opportunities, and you know, taking control of the play when he has that puck. Who knows? If, again, with the way that the Devils have people coming up on the defensive end, who knows if he's a long-term guy. I would like, I guess, depending on how next season goes and how much, you know, how he's going to evolve or whatever, we'll see. I do think that he was great. I mean, I think, again, I personally believe that the Devils can't have too many big bodies, especially in the defensive end. They're a pretty small team. You know, I think he's also a guy that I hope he could use his body more. You know, really, like these couple of these defensemen who are big dudes, I hope they can just grow their game a little bit to being more physical. That would be a big help. I mean, I just think that that's what they're missing in the season. But again, like, we'll get into that later. But I like what Ryan Graves has done. But speaking of using his big body, Kevin Ball, he's a guy specifically I want to point out, just who you saw flashes of it towards the end of the season. And I think as he got into the lineup a little bit throughout the season, you kind of look at him and you're like, man, like, I really hope this guy starts becoming like a physical force, and you start to see it a little bit, and I like that. So who knows what is going to happen in terms of, you know, his future here. I think you know, if he does stay, I would be really happy that he is, you know, still with us. But when you start to see him lay out these hits, like, man, if he just starts doing that on a consistent basis, he's really, you know, he could be a really good physical, like, presence for us, a physical guy for us, and physical player, which again, the Devils need it. I think the Devils have a lot of skill, a lot of speed, but physicality sometimes is where they find themselves in trouble. And I just think that, like, you know, we saw Jack Hughes throw hits, right? Like, my opinion is, if you could have someone who, or a couple guys who could just take on that role, and you don't need the Heishers or the Hughes, or you know, even like you don't need Luke Hughes to be throwing around hits, right? Like, we don't need those guys, and you know, even like Miles Wood, right? Like, we don't need these guys to be throwing hits. I know Timo Meier is a guy, and again, he's another guy who we don't know. I don't know his future, but he's been pretty great for us. But he's a physical guy on the offensive side. He can, you know, he's big enough to throw around some hits. But someone like Kevin Ball, I think he's someone who I want to see develop if he stays with us and becomes a modern or a regular stay in our lineup. More hits, you know, more physicality, right? I think he's a guy who can really make that impact for us. Lastly, as someone who I think was really good, I mean, you know, look at Dougie Hamilton, right? I think Dougie Hamilton, to me, you know, a lot of people were thinking, oh, he wasn't that good of a get when we got him last year. I think that injury really stopped him from being as good of a player as he showed he was this year. I think to have that offensive defenseman is something that I don't think the Devils have had in a while. I can't remember really the last time we've had a guy on defense who was like just a threat, you know. I know, and I'm not taking shots, but I know PK Subban was supposed to be that threat. It just didn't really work out as much as we had liked, or as much as I thought he was going to be. But you know, I think that that's one of those things that we you know, we look at this year, and like, I at least I got excited about it. I get excited about just, you know, now Dougie Hamilton's a guy that he scored that huge overtime goal in the playoffs. You know, he's someone that we could look to for that blue line threat, a blue line scoring threat. And he's a guy who also, because Lindy likes to play, you know, play the Devils in a way where the defense jumps in on the offense. I just think it's a perfect match for how Dougie plays his game. You know, he is a great shooter, and letting him, you know, use his skills as a shooter with the scheme that we have, where defensemen jump in on the play, is huge. You know, that's been a good thing. You know, moving on to kind of a different aspect of growth this season, in my opinion, the goaltending. To me, huge improvement. I'm so happy with how the goaltending turned out, and I'm not necessarily getting into right now of like the future and blah blah blah, and people want to talk about, you know, whether it's Schmidt, Vanacek, or get a new guy in the coming seasons. For right now, like, just looking back on this season and even in the playoffs, like, yeah, granted, Vitek, you know, didn't play as well as we would have liked, and I'm sure, you know, he definitely didn't like. But you know what? Like, looking at the season as a whole, there's no way we make it to second in our division. There's no way we make it, you know, anywhere near where we're at without how Vanacek saved us, they saved the Devils throughout that stretch there when they were winning a lot. Like he was a big reason why, you know, they were able to play more offensively minded, and they were able to take chances, and they were able to, you know, really develop their transition game and not have to worry about the back end as much, as because you know, Vanacek was so good. You know, I can remember that Canadian road trip. There were so many games and games. There were so many games down that stretch where we were struggling with like odd man rushes our way, and he really came up big. As fan watching was like, man, like this, I don't know how much he can keep it up, be able to keep us in the game with, you know, saving us with his odd man rushes, and yeah, I just think that like the season, in my opinion, compared to last season, where it's so funny, right? It's a little ironic. We had a goaltending carousel last season, but it was the worst. Like we had like what, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 goalies in rotation or whatever. It was not good, right? It was not good. And what's funny is that this year we also did have a little bit of a goaltending carousel, but it was in such a opposite like result where like anytime we put any goalie in there, they would find some level of success, you know. And you gotta get, I also like, you know, think Blackwood played well when he was in there too. I mean, he did suffer through injuries, which is really tough. Like it's a hard thing, right? Because like you really feel for the guy that when he's at his best, he's a really good goalie. But the problem is like, when was the last time he had a really consistent stretch of play where he didn't get injured? And like, of course, when you come back from injury, you look what happened with Schneider years ago. It's like you need reps to kind of get yourself back into game shape. You can practice all you want, but you kind of need those reps to get into game shape. Unless you're like Marty Brodeur, when he got injured in like 09 or whatever, he already played so many games at that age of his career and that stage of his career that he kind of fell back into it pretty easily. But you know, it's hard. And then when you have two guys who, you know, take the ball and are able to run with it, like Vanacek and Schmid, it's kind of hard to be put in that position. It's a tough situation there. And you can tell by when his like exit interviews that he wants to be on a team that he can play on. You know, he wants to be on a team that he can get the starting role. And I don't know, in my opinion right now, I personally feel like, which I'll probably make in another video, but I personally feel like Akira and Vitek are the guys to roll with. You know, I don't believe in, right, at least for now, give them one more year to prove just how good they can be. I don't think we should be looking for a new goalie, but that's just me, and I'll talk about it in another video. But I think this year relative to last year, the large part of the success was due to the goaltending and the stability of trust in goaltending, right? And not saying that, like, when I mean stability, I mean we had different goalies in there, but there was always a level of confidence, right? There was always a level of confidence that this one guy wasn't going to shit the bed just because, oh crap, we don't have that guy, we don't have our starter, Vitek's not in there, or Schmidt's not in there, so like whoever we got is not going to play well. There was always a level of, hey, like whoever's in there, of the ones that we have, Vitek, Schmidt, and even Dawes for whatever that's worth, like we are confident in that they can play, you know. So I'm pretty happy, and me being a goalie, like I always look at the goalies, and that's my, you know, what I focus on a lot too. And so I'm just happy with how they all played, and I personally want them back. I want Schmidt, Vanacek, and Dawes. I mean, if anything, I want the Dawes to also be, if there's ever any hiccup or hang up there, just give Dawes a chance, because he is when he played for us last year, he was pretty good, and with more success down in Utica, I think he could also be really good too. But all in all, I just think a lot of the goalies that stepped up were good. A lot of the players, so many good things to look forward to. Again, like, just the Devils really did just exceed all expectations of, I think, any Devils fan, really, any analyst out there, any expert or whatever that didn't think the Devils could make it far. They go in, finished second, 1 point right behind Carolina. They were that close to just winning the division. They go on that insane run, begin the season, lost first two games of the season. Never thought it was over. It was done for. Fans screaming fire Lindy, and they come back and they go on a 19 and something run, point streak, win streak or whatever. So it was great, and I think there's so much to look forward to. You know, as a Devils fan, I would just say that it's been really fun to watch this year, this brand of Devils hockey, this new brand of Devils hockey. I'm excited. You could really tell, like, we basically are now, and I'm not going to jinx it. I mean, it's been 1 year and you have to kind of prove it year over year or whatever. But I think having been a long time Devils fan, like, I'm 30 years old. I've seen, you know, all cup runs and all that stuff. The period of time after 2012 and like post Marty era, I think the Devils were in flux. Like, they didn't know their identity, and now I just feel like, in my opinion, there's no doubt of who the Devils are. Now it's just a matter of going out and like executing it and staying true to, again, this new brand of Devils hockey, and I'm pumped up about it. I'm excited for years to come, and it should be fun. Thanks guys for watching this video. If you have if you're a Devils fan or whatever, and you have any questions, or what do you guys think about the maybe changes, great things, the things that could be improved upon next season and the off season here, let me know. Leave a comment, and if you like the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you want more videos, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and again, awesome Devils season, and hope to come back in the fall in another good season for the Devils.